So we're halfway through making our bar, and what we did is we bought these two oak wine barrels from a winery that's close by. The first one, this is the first time I've done this, but I basically sanded this guy down and learned how to do it, sort of, and hopefully not screw up the second one. I'm pretty happy with the outcome of this one. It's really nice, and the top is super nice too. And so basically what I'm going to do is show you how I did that by turning this one into a nicer barrel, and then we're going to put, the plan is to put a glass top on it and make a super cool, nice bar in our house. So the tools we're going to use is, we got this Milwaukee orbital sander. Now you could use a belt sander and maybe go with the grain like this, but I wanted to take off the layers a little more slowly, because I don't want to completely get everything new. I want to make the age kind of come through. So get rid of most of the age, but then when we varnish it, it's going to stay really nice. And the first time I did it, I didn't use, I just used the box on the sander, and it ended up putting sawdust all over the place. So we got this shop vac, and we're just going to hook it right up to the attachment and start sanding. So I should add, I forgot to say, I'm using a 60 grit sandpaper for this. So I read about how to do this online, and they recommended 60 to 80 grit. So this one I started with an 80 grit sandpaper, but I find the 60 is more effective right away, and then I'm going to move up to a finer grit to get a better smooth surface for it. So another thing that I got is one of these little detail sanding blocks, and the reason why is because there's lettering and engravings on the wood here, and I want to keep that because it looks really, really nice when it's finished. And then there's little nooks and crannies. So to get into the little detail parts, it's really not that much work, to be honest. So you can see I really don't want to get this number off. I want to keep that. But I want to get rid of all the scum around it. And again, the purpose here isn't to get rid of the aging, it's just to clean it up. So this part's a little tricky, trying to get this in. Now I could use the detail sander there as well, sanding block, but I'm just going to take the machine and kind of just scrape it off, and just try and go around and clean that up a little bit before I take the hoops off. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're not going to clean the top perfectly because we'll have a chance later to finish everything up, make it all even, but barrels, if they're real barrels, have nails that go in the side here. So I have this stake that we have, and I'm just going to go, and you just need to sort of tap in to get the nail out. I feel like this is quite a bit an older barrel because these nails are just not popping right out. Here. There we go. Just pop that right off. Don't lose these because you're going to need them later. So for right now, I'm just going to take the top two off, and then I'm going to take this one off and I'm going to sand the whole thing. But for the first part, because the barrel depends on the hoops for the integrity to hold it all together. So I'm holding this right on top. That's what I was going to tell you not to do. So when you take these off, you should take everything off the top, or the top's going to come apart, and then you'll have to put all the slats back together. And it's somewhat challenging to get it done. Sometimes when you're taking these off, they get set in, so you have to give them just a little tap. Okay, So now I'm gonna get all this dirty crap sanded off. The one thing that happens when you're sanding is there's the cracks and it's kind of hard to like get in. So you could just sand and sand and sand, but then you're gonna like really dig in and reshape everything. And I want to keep a little bit of the edge. So what you do is you just kind of pop it out and then you can just get right in on the crack itself like that. So here, I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got most of the stuff off. Before I put the hoops on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on 120 grit, and then basically what that's for is to smooth it out and make a better surface for the varnish to really bring the grain out and stuff like that. So I'm going to do that, and as you can see, like most of the stuff is off. It's a little dirtier down here below this hoop because I'm going to end up turning it over and doing the same process again. So that part's going to go later. But before I put the hoops on, I want to get the sanding down to 120 grit. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so I'm going to put the hoops back on now. I think this is the right way. So what you need to do is take little holes and line them up to where the nails used to be, and then put them around. They might take a little tap with the hammer to get them into place. Get that around more. Make sure the things just cover it up for the most part. It doesn't matter too much because you can just nail them back in. It'll go in. It would matter if this was, if we were going to use it for making wine because we're making holes in the barrel. So now I'm going to take my nails, I'm going to hammer them back in the holes. Okay, so I just flipped the barrel over and now I'm just going to reverse the exact same process. And I'm going to take the nails out. I've already taken 2 of these hoops off, and so you just got to find the nail and get it tapped out. So this time, I'm going to use 60 grit again and take off all this black stuff, basically. Okay. So again, what we're going to do we're getting ready now to put the varnish on. So we're going to use, I have 120 grit sandpaper on. I was reading the instructions and they said 150 to like 180 or maybe 230 or something. The guy at the store told me 120, and that's what I did the other barrel with. So you might want to go with a higher number. But yeah, so we're just going to basically smooth it down and then get ready to put the hoops back on and then put on the varnish. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just take like a damp cloth and just try and wipe off all the excess like leftover sawdust and stuff like that. Just because that's not very good. Okay, so we're gonna varnish here. So I have this polyurethane varnish. I just got this at another hardware store. It says it's triple thick, 1 coat's like 3 coats. It is glossy, so you get a glossy finish. It makes it all nice and shiny, just like this. So you just have to open it. And the first thing, you just have to keep stirring it. Because you don't want to shake it, because then it'll create a bunch of bubbles in the varnish. So I got these foam brushes. What I like to do is I have one foam brush for applying it, and then I have another foam brush to touch up and just to clean things up if I need to. So I can have one that's clean that can take things off if I need to. So a little bit goes a long way. On the top, it's not going to be too messy, so I'm just going to put a bit in, and then you just start to apply the varnish as evenly as you can. It gets a little bit trickier on the sides because you're going up and down and there's gravity, so you use a lot less, I find, but on the top it's quite easy. The main thing, you just want a nice even coat, and you don't want any of that white residue to be present. So just wipe it until that goes away. What you'll find if you've never used varnish before is it goes into all the cracks and it makes everything, really brings out the grain of the wood. And you can see I kind of messed up a little bit here. I put too much. I find it's good to apply the varnish in the middle of where you want to go and then wipe it around to the edges. So what I screwed up is down here in the corner. It's all packed in there now and it's all white. So I'm going to take my cleanup brush and try and pick it out a little bit. Because if you go in with this foam brush, it's all, the varnish is in there. So when you squeeze into the tight space, it's all going to come out. So what you want to be careful of when you're doing something tight like this is just get a tiny bit on the brush because you're doing some detail stuff. Otherwise you're going to get it really packed in and it's going to have all kinds of white, and that's what you're trying to avoid. But when you're going into a crack like this, now I could have put the varnish on the whole barrel, but I chose to do it this way because I think coming down it's going to damage the varnish and then I'd end up having to redo a bunch of it anyway. It would probably be a lot faster just to varnish the whole barrel and then put the hoops on, but again, that's the same way I did the other one. And I think the results are pretty good, to be honest. Okay. I do think that is about it. I could varnish the bung as well. But let's see, let's compare them. Let's see if they are similar. Pretty close. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now we just have to clean up the hoops, maybe add a couple nails, and we'll be finished. And we can add the top and put some shelves and have our bar. It's going to be sweet.